What really happened? When Dieu Han decided to return to Jack Lak, leaving her friend Ouan behind. Hello everyone. Today we step into a new chapter, one filled with quiet sorrow and unexpected tragedy in the journey of the single mother, Dieu Han. A story of leaving, of words left unspoken, and of secrets Han may never have imagined. Morning sunlight pierced through the thin mist, casting a golden glow over the small backyard behind their rented house. Ouan, the friend who had once opened her arms to shelter Han and little Tom when they came to the city searching for Han's birth parents, was busy bringing out the fish rack to dry in the sun. Meanwhile, Dieu Han had quietly woken up at dawn. She was packing. Piece by piece, she gently folded Tom's tiny clothes and placed them into an old woven basket, the only thing left from her years of running, struggling, and holding on to hope. Her face carried the weight of a quiet, deep sadness. Han had spent many sleepless nights thinking. Lying next to Tom, watching him sleep peacefully, she often asked herself, "Am I really on the right path? Where am I taking my child?" And then she made a decision. She would return, back to Jack Lak. Back to the place she had once left in heartbreak. Not because she was giving up, but because she needed a place to breathe, a place to pause and reflect on this seemingly hopeless journey. I'll wait for news from the friends still helping me search. When the time is right, I'll continue moving forward. But for now, I need to take a step back. After finishing packing, she gently pulled the zipper shut, stood up, and looked around the room where she and little Tom had been staying for the past few days. Then she stepped outside, cradling Tom still drowsy and rubbing his eyes in her arms. She tiptoed across the porch, careful not to wake the neighbors, but Ouan was already there, leaning against the doorframe, clutching a wool scarf tightly in her arms. "Leaving so early?" Ouan asked, her voice a little hoarse from staying up late while watching Han pack. Han nodded gently, suppressing a sigh. "Yeah, I need to get to the bus station before 7. If I'm late, I'll miss the only bus back home." Ouan looked down, a trace of sadness in her eyes. She stepped forward and softly touched Han's hand. "Han, stay a little longer. I made some breakfast." Han smiled, but it was a fragile smile like morning mist that could vanish at any moment. "Thank you so much, Ouan, but I can't. I really have to go." She held Ouan's hand tightly. "These past few days I've been so grateful. Thank you for opening your home to me and Tom, for giving us a safe place, even if only for a little while. I'll never forget this." Ouan gently squeezed her friend's hand. "Han, don't talk like that. You're my friend, and that's what friends do. We're there when things get tough. When things settle down, come back. We'll cook together, sit and talk about everything. Deal?" Han nodded, eyes brimming with tears. "Yeah, but listen. If those thugs from before come back, if they cause any trouble, you have to call the police right away. Promise me you won't try to hide it. You're here alone, I worry about you." Ouan gave a soft smile, though her eyes betrayed her emotion. "Han, even now, with everything you're carrying, you're still worried about me. You really are the friend heaven sent to me." Ouan walked with Han all the way to the end of the alley. The narrow village path, shaded by bamboo, was dappled with early sunlight. The leaves swayed gently as if waving goodbye. Han turned and embraced Ouan one last time. "Take care of yourself, okay? I'm going now." Ouan didn't say anything more, just nodded, eyes following her friend for a long while. Mother and child slowly disappeared behind the bamboo grove. only the small figure of the woman remained in view, walking quietly through life, carrying with her all the hope and faith that someone had just gifted her. Ouan still stood silently on the porch, where Han had just disappeared behind the bamboo grove. After a while, she went back inside to cook, only to realize she was out of seasonings. With no other choice, Ouan quickly threw on a jacket, grabbed her wallet, and headed out, walking along the familiar alley toward the small convenience store at the edge of the village. At a hidden corner near the moss-covered wall at the end of the alley, two men stood whispering to each other. One wore a black jacket with a cap pulled low, hiding most of his face. The other was skinny, a half-smoked cigarette dangling from his lips, his eyes fixed on Ouan's house. Ouan appeared, walking quickly, holding her purse tightly against her side. She had no idea that two pairs of eyes were watching her every step. The sky was gloomy, heavy with clouds, as if warning of an incoming storm. Ouan walked faster, a tightness pressing against her chest. She didn't know why, but something felt off. Suddenly, she stopped in her tracks. Her heart pounded. She turned around and looked behind her. No one. Ouan returned home carrying several bags of groceries. Rain had begun to fall lightly, tiny droplets misting over her thin jacket. Just as she reached the gate, her eyes froze in place. The fish she had laid out to dry earlier that morning were now soaked from the rain. Oh no, she sighed, hurrying to gather the wet fish. Suddenly, Ouan realized she had forgotten something, so she stepped out of the house once more. The moment the door clicked shut behind her, two shadowy figures emerged from the dark corner of the garden, behind a cluster of banana trees. One of them, carrying a large cloth bag, silently approached the house. They slipped inside. The one in charge, Foosh, scanned the room with sharp eyes. He ordered his accomplice to stay outside and keep watch while he began rummaging through the house, searching for anything of value. He tore through wardrobes and drawers, overturning furniture. Mats were flung aside, and small items scattered across the floor. Then, pulling open a jacket pocket, he found some money. He fished out a 500,000 Vietnamese dong bill, along with a few smaller ones. Sneering, he stuffed them quickly into his pants pocket. Just then, Ouan returned, carrying a small bag of ginger. From a distance, the lookout spotted her and rushed inside to warn Phuc. As Ouan reached the front door, she paused. Something felt off. The door wasn't closed the way she remembered. She stepped closer, heart pounding. Just as she was about to enter, a shadow loomed from behind. "You're not going anywhere now," a hoarse voice growled like thunder in the rain. The second thug, the lookout, suddenly grabbed her from behind, locking her arms tightly. Ouan struggled, panicked. Phuc ran out from inside, slammed the door shut, and quickly forced her inside, locking her in. The room was dim and cold, with faint light seeping through a small window, casting a pale glow on Ouan's ashen face. She curled up in a corner, trembling. She had screamed, shouted dozens of times, her voice echoing off the four walls. But outside, there was only the sound of rain. In the kitchen just beyond the room, the two thugs sat around casually, as if this were their own home. The leader, Foosh, pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and brought it close to his mouth. "Hello? Brother Bin?" "Yeah, I've got the girl. She's locked up in the house. I'm thinking of moving her to that shack on the edge of the forest. It's deserted whatever we do. No one will know." He hung up, then turned to the skinny accomplice beside him and gave a command. Go home and get the bike. Be back in 30 minutes. You take her first. I'll follow." Meanwhile, Ouan was still huddled in the corner of the room. She crawled across the floor, inching toward a small wooden window at the back. Rusty screws still held the iron bars in place. She slipped a pair of scissors into the screw head and began twisting it slowly, carefully. Clack, clack. Time seemed to stop. She paused every few seconds to listen. Any small sound could alert folk. One by one, the screws came loose. Cold sweat drenched her forehead. Her palms ached from the effort. Fook, still in the kitchen, smoked another cigarette, unaware that just beyond a thin wall, his captive was slowly dismantling her prison. The final screw came free. The window creaked open just enough for a person to squeeze through. Dieuhan didn't hesitate. She climbed up, slipped her body through the gap, and fell hard on the ground outside. She ran. Ran without looking back. Barefoot, stepping on sharp rocks and thick mud, she didn't slow down for a second. Fook stood under the eaves, chewing on a cigarette that had long gone out. He was growing impatient, eyes darting repeatedly toward the entrance of the alley. Moments later, the sound of a motorbike engine broke through the rain, sputtering toward him. His underling finally emerged through the downpour, riding a battered, rickety motorbike. Fook snapped. "What the hell took you so long?" "The rain's too heavy, boss. I tried to hurry, but the road's flooded." The engine kept stalling. Fook shot him a deadly glare, but said nothing more. The two of them rushed toward the room where Ouan had been held captive, urgency written all over their faces. The door swung open, inside empty. No one. Fook froze for a few seconds, eyes widening in disbelief. Impossible. He roared in rage, rampaging through the room, knocking over tables, tearing through drawers, sending objects flying. His accomplice frantically searched every corner, panic rising. But Ouan was gone. Meanwhile, at the edge of the village over a kilometer away, Ouan huddled inside an unfinished house. The place was quiet, uninhabited, filled with scattered cement bags, stacks of bricks, and half-constructed steel frames. She tucked herself into a dark corner, knees pulled to her chest, leaning against the cold wall. Looking out through the rain, memories swirled in her mind. She thought of Han's worried eyes as she left that morning. Of Dieuhan, the man who had once helped her without hesitation during her toughest time. But now, Han had returned to her hometown. Dieuhan was away on a work trip in the central provinces. Ouan understood one thing clearly. This time, she had to save herself. No one was nearby. No one could come. Curled up beneath a plastic tarp, she closed her eyes, but sleep never came. Only one haunting question repeated in her heart. Will tomorrow bring a sunrise or the start of another nightmare? Can Ouan truly escape her past? Or will it forever chase her down?
Ở đầu làng, cách khoảng hơn 1 cây số, Uyên đang co mình ở một ngôi nhà đang thi công dở. Nơi đây vắng lặng, chưa có người ở, chỉ có những bao xi măng, gạch ngổn ngang và khung sắt chơi vơi. Dựng dở dang, cô chui tạm vào một góc khuất. Uyên ngồi thu người lại, hai tay ôm lấy chân, dựa lưng vào tường. Cô nhìn ra mưa ngoài hiên và nhớ lại mọi chuyện. Nhớ đến ánh mắt lo lắng của Hân khi cô rời đi. Nhớ thấy anh, người từng không ngần ngại giúp đỡ mình trong lúc khó khăn. Giờ đây, Hân đã về quê, thấy anh đi công tác tận miền Trung. Uyên hiểu, lần này cô phải tự cứu lấy mình. Không ai còn ở gần, không ai có thể đến ngay. Uyên cuộn mình dưới lớp bạt, mắt nhắm lại nhưng không thể ngủ được. Trong lòng cô bây giờ chỉ còn một câu hỏi dai dứt: liệu ngày mai sẽ là bình minh hay bắt đầu một cơn ác mộng khác? Liệu Uyên có thể trốn thoát vĩnh viễn hay quá khứ sẽ tiếp tục đeo bám cô?